One. What do you mean
Depends
depends?
on what you mean. Like a necessary sentient agent that created the universe, or is that what you mean?
I mean, I don't know why he needs to be necessary, but we can just say like the
So,
sentient creator of
so
the universe.
contingent.
I mean, it's just a kalam doesn't prove he's necessary. I mean, kind of,
Well, I
not
don't
really.
agree. I don't think. I don't think I should talk about the content. The yeah, contingent God. That would just be like harder for me. Like if you're trying to prove God exists, you might as well just you have to prove He's necessary. Because contingent things cannot really be God. At least in my definition.
I mean, since I'm using the kalam, I mean, since I read an article on
Kalam
this,
is
I'm
mostly
really,
about necessary, anyways. Like you can prove that God is necessary.
I guess so. If the three premises follow, then I guess so.
So God is a
Yeah.
necessary creator.
A
Is that the
sentient
definition?
necessary creator, yeah, sure.
Right.
Um, let me grab my shit.
Right. I'm just like I'm not like taking a stance that goes like
You're
in opposition
agnostic,
to
right?
this. I'm just agnostic towards it. Yeah.
Sure. Where's scans? Look at the scans.
Then the argument.
So
He's
the
trying
first two premises are just like simple kalam, and we can go into the rest later.
whatever begins has a cause. Whatever begins has a cause.
You
Can you
fine with
prove the
that
universe
premise?
began to exist?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Basically, if the universe didn't begin to exist, it will lead to infinite regress, which is logically contradicted.
Do you think? Do you think the universe? Do you think time got created along with the universe or prior to the universe?
Time,
Time, yeah.
time and space got are the what the universe is.
So before the universe began to exist, there was no time and space.
Yeah, there was no time and space.
So, I want you to like tell me how it's coherent, like how you can use a term like before time and make it coherent.
Oh, sorry, I
Like
didn't
you're
mean
saying,
before
time
time. I
began
just mean like
began
in
to
the
exist.
absence of the universe. I'm sorry.
Wait, what do you mean?
I didn't mean to say before time. I mean like in the absence of the universe.
Okay, so before, yeah, in the absence of the universe, there was no time. So the
Yeah.
universe was always there. Before the universe, there was no time either. So we cannot determine whether it began or not.
What do you mean by that? It did begin to exist. Time is
I
not
mean,
anything.
whenever the universe was there, which means it like had no beginning, right? Because like when the universe was not there, when it was absent, time was also not there. So there could not be such thing as a beginning for time because that's what it's included in time, like the definition.
The beginning for
So
time is just the first point in time.
yeah, so before that you cannot have anything.
There's no before. It's just absence of time.
Yes, yeah, absence of time. In absence of time, you cannot have anything.
Why
Or
can't
like
we
in
have
absence of
anything in the absence
universe,
of
no,
time?
my bad. In absence of universe, you cannot have anything,
Why not?
because
There's
there's
not
no time
anything
either.
physical, but we can have metaphysical
Okay, so
things.
how could things progress to the point where the universe got created, even though there was no time
Are you
in which
trying
they
to
could
like
progress
imply?
in?
Are you trying to like imply that causality is temporal? Is that basically what you're saying?
No, what I'm trying to imply is that okay, so in order for causal relations to work, they need progression, and
Yeah.
progression
So
cannot happen without time.
you're basically saying that causal relations are temporal.
Yes, obviously,
Yeah, I heavily disagree with that.
heavily. Oh, all right. So how can you have progress without time?
Because basically we see simultaneous causation around us all the time, which implies that we don't need time.
Can you elaborate?
Like, basically, when we it's in physics we see it all the time. Like for example, something called the normal force, which is basically the Earth pushing up on us
He
simultaneously
said
when
the
we step
force.
down. It's the thing that prevents us from like slipping through objects because they push up on us
I don't see how
simultaneously.
that negates. To be honest, I don't see that how that negates like progression.
Because you're asserting that the cause has to come before the effect, right? But I'm proving that the
Okay.
cause can come simultaneously with the effect. Right? It's also like perfectly
Wait,
coherent
when
for
was
like
it again? When the cause was like simultaneous to the effect?
sim- simultaneous to the effect, like the example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, it's called the normal force in physics. When we push
Hmm.
down on something, it simultaneously pushes up on us.
Yeah, obviously it happens after we push down on it.
No, it happens. If it didn't happen simultaneously, then we would just go through things.
Okay, no, it does. It doesn't happen simultaneously because
Yes,
there's a
because
thing called
otherwise we would
collision.
just phase
Okay,
through
look, but
through
there's a thing
things. And
called collision, and
I'm
and
not
no matter
talking
how
about that. I'm
small the
not
time
talking
it is,
about. I'm talking about the normal force. It's just
but
the force. It's
okay,
just
but you
gravity
included.
forces.
Okay, you literally said we come in contact with things if progression happened at if
You're misunderstanding
effect if
that.
the effect came after the cause, not simultaneous, like it would have just slipped through. But I'm saying like this collision, which could just mean I could try to push through, but like a point, like nanosecond or whatever after, is gonna
No,
push back.
it's
You know, so it's just gonna go
simultaneous.
back
It's
and
really
forth.
simultaneous. Like you can look it up. It's simultaneous. Otherwise,
Okay, I don't see how
we
that
would
means
be able to
they're being
slightly
done at the
slip
same
through
time.
objects, which we can't.
Okay, but your point is that the cause has to come after the effect has to come after the cause, which it does.
No,
No
no,
matter
that's
how
your
slight it
point.
is,
I'm
it does come after
debunking
the
that. I'm
effect.
saying that that's not necessarily what happens. That we see examples of
Yeah,
simultaneous
yeah. Okay,
moving
so your
all
point is
around.
that it. Yeah, your point is that it doesn't have to necessarily come after the fucking
Yeah, I'm not. I'm
cause.
saying that cause and effect are not temporal. There's nothing that proves that cause and effect is temporal.
Okay, so you're saying that cause and effect, you can have the effect before the cause, or what? Like, what do you mean?
You can have the effect simultaneously to the cause.
Okay, but it's still after the cause, which means that that is done temporally.
No, no, it's simultaneously.
Okay, simultaneously, but I don't know what do you mean by simultaneously? Let me just
Simultaneously just means happen at the same time. Like the
okay, happen
cause,
at the
like
same time. That's
in
obviously not
causal
true.
order, obviously the cause would come before the effect. But when we're talking about time and causality being temporal, that's just not the case. In the time sense, the cause can come immediately at this simultaneously to the effect. I mean, yeah, the effect can come simultaneously to the cause.
Okay, by simultaneously, you mean like I don't think people mean what accurate precision as in like both happen at the exact
No,
instant same time.
okay, Richard. If it didn't happen at the same time, we would just go through objects.
Okay, it happened. Okay, so you're saying even if there's like a nanosecond in which happened, which you're saying it didn't,
There's not a
we would
nanosecond.
just
It happens
go
immediately.
through like if there was a nanosecond.
Yeah, we would just go through objects.
Okay, let me try to understand what you're saying.
Just look up normal
So if
force
there's
then
a
like
is the period of time. Uh,
all like I could give you like more examples. Like the example of like a bowling ball resting on a cushion. The cushion is simultaneously pushing up as the ball pushes down.
the same. Hold on. Uh, all right. I don't think, to be honest, I don't think that's like at the exact instant same time. Like the
It
pushing
is.
back
Okay, so
happens
if a
after.
ball imagine a ball resting on a cushion, right? The cushion simultaneously pushing up as the ball
Yeah,
pushes
but
down.
there's a
That's
there's a
just
there's an
physics.
interval when that happens. Like it doesn't happen at the same time.
No, it's not. There's no interval. You can look it up. It's physics. Otherwise, we would go through object. Like the
So if there
description of
is
the
this atemporal, you think it could not be like before, like the
no
effect be before the
atemporal
cause?
causation is perfectly logical. For
Okay,
example, God can
I
think
didn't
of
ask
like
you
the
that
number seven
question.
and simultaneously cause it into existence with him and
But
be
that's not what I
existent
asked
with the
you.
number seven.
Okay, I said could the effect be happening before the cause or whatever?
Can the
So
effect be
like
what?
this atemporal uh happened before the cause.
Can the effect happen before the cause? I mean, yeah, and we put like the effect can happen before the cause as well. We put like for example, like time travel. That's perfectly logical.
I mean that's logical, but we've never seen it into actually like empirical evidence. Like we cannot make such strong assumptions about like
Like
this.
I
which is
already gave you like
expect to give them.
examples of
Okay, just because
simultaneous
something is
causation, which
actually
is
just because
hey,
something is like coherent logically, does not mean that they don't need
hey,
empirical evidence to back
Richard.
them up.
I already gave you examples like simultaneous causation, right?
Okay,
which
but I'm
just
asking
debunks
before
the
before which you said time travel, which is
okay,
completely
I don't need
logical.
that.
I
I
don't
don't
see
need to
why
prove
that
that. God can just cause the universe simultaneously.
cost the universe same. Okay, that's you're using God an argument that you're using to prove God. That's kind of dumb.
No,
You
no, no,
cannot
no.
use God before
No,
you
that's
actually
not what
prove
I'm
that He
saying.
exists. So
No, you're
in the
okay. So
duration of
basically,
proving
I
Him,
don't
okay,
know.
then what you're
Maybe
saying.
like I misunderstood what you're saying, but you're saying causality is temporal, right? So you're saying that
Mhm.
cause has to come before the effect, and nothing can exist before time. Therefore, nothing can cause the universe. That's what you're saying, right?
Uh, what I said. Let me rephrase because maybe that's what I said, but I'm like I want y'all to understand what I'm saying. So
I
um,
love you, Richard.
there's no such thing before time. There's just absence of time. But like if it's absence of the universe, which there was no time, then the universe had no beginning, because the
The beginning is
time
the
also was there at the
Richard. That's
beginning
your
of the
misunderstanding.
universe.
The beginning is the first point in time.
The first point in time. Okay, so in the absence of time, how can you have like the first point in time? How can you have something before that
It is not
if
before; it
that's the
just exists in
beginning?
the absence of it.
So you're saying that are you saying that there was something before the universe or no?
No, I'm just saying that there's something in the absence of the universe.
Okay, so there was something in the absence of the universe. How could it be a beginning for the universe, which
The
is like
begin I
the
already
first
said
time?
the beginning is the first point in time.
Okay, which is the first point in time. How could it be a beginning if we could just have something before it, or like in the absence of
No,
it,
it's
or
not
whatever?
before
I'm
it.
not trying to get
There's
mixed
no
up.
before
In the
time. What you're
absence
saying
of
is
it.
completely incoherent.
Okay, absence. I rephrased.
Absence?
Yeah, in
What's
the
the
absence
problem
of
there?
it. So how
What's the
can you have
problem?
something in the absence? Okay, the first point, the beginning of everything.
Beginning
How
of the
could there
universe, not
be
everything.
something external to it? Okay, the beginning of the universe.
Yeah.
So how could there's something be external to this, which would be in the absence of time?
Yeah, something atemporal.
So let me get it straight. You're saying the progression used to happen before, or like in
No,
the
I never
absence of
said.
time.
What do you mean by progression?
Progression, like the
What do
rate
you
at
mean by
which
that?
fucking causal relations progress. I guess at this context.
Like, yeah, there can be a causal relation, like an atemporal causal
Okay, so you're
relation.
saying progression is without time.
Yeah, causality is not
So,
temporal.
alright, can you prove atemporal progression?
Atemporal progression, like atemporal causation.
No. Okay, you need
I don't
to
understand what you
have
mean by
progression.
progression.
You need to have progression in order to like prove causation.
No, because
Like you cannot have
progression entails
causation
time,
without.
doesn't it? You don't need time to cause anything.
You don't need time to cause anything.
No, you don't.
Okay, well causation goes with progression,
W-
which
What do you define as progression? I just don't get it.
let me find a colloquial definition.
Like define progression.
I am about to. Advancement towards a goal or moving forward. So there's no such thing as progression without time,
Yeah, okay.
but progression is
You understand there
corresponding
could be
or
like
or is
an
required
advancement and
for
a
causal
ruler, right?
relations.
You understand how there can be an advancement and a ruler,
An
right?
advancement in
And you
the
understand the difference between
ruler,
like causal order and temporal order.
causal order, and temporal order.
Yeah.
Man,
Something
can
can
you like
come causally
elaborate? But
before.
I don't understand what you're trying to say.
Okay, so basically, something can come causally, uh, uh, in the causal order, right? The cause is always before the effect, but temporally, that's not the case. There's simultaneous causation,
Mhm.
right? Before
Well,
doesn't always
how does this
apply
counter
time,
my
right?
progression thing?
What?
How does this counter the progression thing that I
Well,
asked you?
I just don't
I asked you, how can you
don't
have
see how
infinite
that like
progression?
progression things like beats what I'm arguing.
Okay, progression is just moving through. Okay, you cannot have causal relation.
Oh my god. What's progression? Like progression is just advancement, right?
Okay, progression is just the way that okay,
Yeah, so
causal
how does that
relations like
entail
progression is
time? I
like
don't get it. How does
one.
that entail time?
Okay,
Why does progression need
progression is
time?
crucial for causal relations.
But why
Progression
does
needs time because
progression
it's
need time?
advancement towards a goal. How can you okay? How
Okay,
can
so
you
you
advance
understand?
further or progress without time? Is it literally corresponded? I don't understand. How can you
I think
take
you
steps
understand
through
how
that?
there's a causal order and there's a temporal order, right? So it could just advance
Causal
in the
order and
causal order,
temporal
but not
order.
the temporal order. You don't need
So what's
advancement
the
in a
causal order?
causal order, just a cause and effect. What causes what?
Or what about the temporal order?
Temporal.
What
Okay,
goes
so I
through?
already explained why causality is not temporal, right? So something can come even like,
No, no. What the? I said what is the temporal order?
where's the temporal order and what?
Yeah, what is the temporal order? Which is
Temporal
distinct
order is
from
time. It's just
yeah,
time.
which you said is okay. Time.
What comes
I don't know
before
why you
something?
drew a distinction between those two because they're basically the same thing.
No,
Time
because
and
I
cause and
already
effect.
explained this. We went over like how there's simultaneous causation.
You said there's two things. There's two orders: temporal order and
Causal
causal
order.
order.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why you drew a distinction between those two and basically the same thing. Cause like
No,
time
they're different.
and
They're a
the
lot different.
cause and effect need progression, and
It's
time is
just
basically when you
Richard. Do you
progress.
understand
That's what
that
it is.
causality doesn't need to be temporal, right?
Well, it does. That's what I'm arguing right now.
Yeah, but I gave you examples of non-temporal causation, and you had no
Well, okay, your
refutation.
example was like, yeah, they happen simultaneously, which I said the cause still happened prior to that. It's just like in a
No,
smaller
wait. How does
pace.
that cause happen prior to?
It could just be like nanoseconds or whatever, you know?
Okay, listen. Okay, so for example, imagine just a ball resting on a pillow, right? And then that pillow is simultaneously pushing up as the ball pushes down. It's called the normal force. Look it up. It's defined as simultaneous. I already explained how if it wasn't simultaneous, we would go through objects.
You know, if it was simultaneous, it would not even push through it. It would just stay like that. Like the pillow would just not happen to anything. Like nothing would happen to the pillow.
What do you mean by that?
Like it would not be pushed. It would not be like pressed.
No,
If there
because
was like if it was like simultaneous at least.
yeah, because it's just pushing up at a lesser force.
So it does get pushed down,
No, yeah,
and
because
the
it's
reason
pushing
that
up
it
at a
does get
lesser
pushed
force,
down, but then it
Richard.
pushes
But
up.
it
Okay,
pushes up
it pushes up
simultaneously.
after being stomped on or like whatever, like you know, after
No,
like it's already
as,
pressed
so-
on.
as soon as it's in contact, it's pushing up simultaneously as the ball pushes down.
Okay, then if it pushes up simultaneously, then it should not flinch. Like it should not
No,
move.
it flinches. It flinches because the
Yeah,
bowling ball
it gets pressed
exerts
because
a great.
it's slower.
No, no, that's you don't like. I don't think if you've seen physics, but you know what a body diagram is,
It's Newton's third law.
No.
right? That doesn't matter. But basically, when you push down on the pillow, you're pushing down with a greater force. That's why it bends down. But if it didn't
I mean,
push up,
even if you
it
push
would
down a
just go
pillow
through it.
with a pillow, like the
What?
same force, even if you push with the same force,
I'm just arguing that it would go through it. You would phase through things if the normal force didn't exist.
we could just move on from this point at least and leave it to
I
the
mean,
judge.
you want to conclude?
Conclude
I mean, I could. Oh no, wait, never mind. I can give
the
you more
point or like the
examples. Like,
debate. What do you mean?
wait, okay, Richard. Imagine like God simultaneously like points thinks of a number and atemporally causes it into like creation. That's perfectly logical.
Can you repeat?
Okay, imagine uh God creates thinks of a number atemporally, and therefore the number starts existing. That's a perfect relation of like atemporal causality.
Well, why would I take theoretical justification for such an extraordinary claim?
Hey, so why would
I
you
need
take
empirical evidence to actually believe that God exists.
empirical evidence? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
giving you empirical evidence. Just look at what the
I don't think
normal.
it's empirical. It's just like the
And I don't think I think
the law
you
of
can prove
physics,
things
which
a
you would
priori,
show
right?
me,
You don't
which
need to like
sure, but like
you don't need to prove them a posteriori. I don't know why you're saying that.
I said, theoretical justification will not like help you prove whatever you're trying to claim because
Yes, you can prove
I just
claims a
don't. I
priori.
just feel like okay, just because something is logically true.
Richard, your justification for causality being temporal is just it is. That's
Okay,
your
no. Okay, so your justification for God existing is completely theoretical, and what's it called?
What's
Yeah, and
theoretical?
the justification
No,
is
no,
just
no.
that
Okay, okay.
it's
So I don't know.
logically
So
good,
basically,
like
no,
logically coherent or whatever that
Richard.
is.
What your argument entails is that God can't cause the universe because there's no before the universe, right? And nothing could have caused the universe because and it has to come like the cause has to come before the effect, right? I'm just proving how it's perfectly logical to think uh it's perfectly logical for causality to be atemporal, and I'm giving you examples. I can't go back in time, right, and actually prove these examples, right? That's what you're asking me to do.
Okay, that's what I'm
But
saying. Like,
purely,
okay,
I can
you're
prove
doing
things.
it pure. Okay, you're trying to prove things purely off of theoretical justifications. When what if I'm
You
just
don't have to
skeptic enough
prove
to
things
not believe
empirically.
the only justification, which is like, oh, it's logically sound, so therefore God exists. Like because the idea of
No,
there
I'm
being
just
a
saying.
God is not
No, that's
logically
not what I'm saying. I'm saying
incoherent.
that there's no contradiction in like a causality being atemporal, right? And it's perfectly logical. So you can't just assert that causality is temporal unless you like give reasoning to why atemporal causality would be contradictory.
Oh, what about okay? So what about if I punch someone? The thing, like the damage happens after, right? So there's still like temporal causality.
There is temporal causality, but that doesn't
So
mean
say
that
there's like,
causality is temporal
so you're
itself.
saying that there's two in a dichotomy. There's atemporal and
No,
temporal
I'm
causality.
just making a distinction. Like there's a causal
Okay.
order and then there's a temporal order. When something comes after in the causal order, it doesn't mean it come after in the temporal order.
Anyway, you can move on. You can go ahead. I'm gonna
Sure.
leave this to the judges.
Um, where's my syllogism? Okay, so therefore the universe has a cause. And then premise 3, the cause of the universe must be eternal, non-sentient, and immaterial, or eternal, sentient, and immaterial. Are you fine? This is just like a tautology.
Let me just see. Hold on.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick and be right back.
Where's your syllogism, Thomas?
Scan. Guys, would scroll up because this nigga saying posted so much shit. Let me just repost it. Hold on.
I'll repost it.
Shut the fuck up, Canadian faggot.
Richard,
Man, get your
Man,
ugly ass
please
text out of
stop
there.
like making that noise.
Man, please shut the fuck up.
Retard.
shopping bag.
Shopping
Man,
bag.
what
How
if I
about you
just stuck
say
a
you're
shopping bag on your
say
head?
say you're lagging right now, bro?
I'm legging.
You said what?
I'm legging.
Nice leggings.
Yo, Richard, I'm back.
Alright. Man, you peed at light speed, huh? Hold up. So
Yeah.
let me read it now. The cause of the universe must be eternal, non sentient, and immaterial. Eternal, sentient, and immaterial. Why?
I'm
Why
over
must it
here
be eternal,
learning.
non sentient, and immaterial?
So the cause of the universe has to be. Hold on, Mama. The cause of the universe has to be immaterial and eternal, right?
Why?
Well, eternal the sense that it has to be atemporal, and immaterial in the sense that exists outside space,
Mm.
right?
Well, sure.
And then there's only two kinds of things. It's like a tautology, right? Everything is either sentient or non-sentient.
Sentient or non-sentient? Sure.
That's just a tautology, so you can't really deny that.
What if there's something that's like not sentient? You know, like something that does not exist at all, not even as a concept. You know, it just doesn't exist.
Just the absence of properties? Nothing?
Yeah. So like, not just not. It's not like it's non-sentient. It's just not sentient. It's like
It's just nothing.
it's like saying like something is either dead or alive, but there's actually a third option, which is like not alive because you were never born. The same
That's
could
the thing.
happen with the
No, but I'm not
non-sentient
saying
thing.
dead or alive. I'm saying like I'm saying a tautology. You can't deny this. It's
Oh,
like
so
saying
non-sentient,
either
like
things
something that does
exist or
not have.
don't exist,
Sure, sure, sure. I
right?
guess, yeah, sure.
P4. If its cause is non-sentient, immaterial, and eternal, then the universe must be eternal.
Oh, is it non-sentient? What? Wait, why would a universe be eternal if the cause is non-sentient?
So you understand that like if the cause is there, the effect must be there, right?
Yeah.
So if the cause is eternally there, then the effect must be eternally there as well.
So, you're saying if the cause is eternal, the universe must be eternal too, or like the effect must be eternal too.
Yeah.
So, if the universe is not eternal, the cause is also not eternal. But your
No.
conclusion says
Okay, so
otherwise.
this is perfectly logical with like a mind, because it can start a causal change even if it's eternal, because it can bring about the universe of its free will.
All right, but you said yourself with your own words that if the cause is eternal, the effect should be eternal too. So
Yeah,
if
but
God
it
is
specifically
eternal,
says
then
if
the
the cause
universe
is
should be eternal too.
non-sentient, immaterial, and eternal. It's non-sentient, because sentient beings have free will and can bring about things about their free will.
But you didn't include non-sentient. Like
Yes, it's right
not
there.
only when you gave me the explanation, but also when I asked you the question, I didn't include non-sentient. I was just like,
I mean,
so if
you
something is eternal and it caused
Richard,
something
Richard,
else, like
I
the
just
effect should
gave
be
you an
eternal too.
explanation as to why. Richard, P4 specifically says non-sentient. You read that, right? Then
Yeah, I know. But I asked for elaboration. I asked only the eternal thing,
Yeah,
which
and then
you gave
I gave you an
clarification for. You said
elaboration.
if it's eternal,
Yeah, I gave you an
the
elaboration
effect
for
is eternal too.
non-sentient objects, and then I gave you an explanation as to
All right,
why sentient objects
sure.
can cause a non-eternal cause.
Go ahead.
So if you accept P4, then P5 just comes from P2. So that's basically GG.
Therefore, the cause of the universe is eternal, sentient, and immaterial. Uh, let me see. So wait, so the first definition of God was like the fucking
We
necessary
just decided
creator.
on a sentient cause for the universe.
Yeah, we said the necessary creator.
Yeah, but if all these premises follow necessarily, then the conclusion must also follow necessarily.
Just because something is eternal, can you prove they're also necessary? Cause like something
No, I'm
eternal could
saying
also
no.
live in
That's not
only
what it
some
said,
possible
Richard.
worlds.
I'm saying if my premise follow necessarily, then the conclusion must also follow necessarily.
Necessarily in what sense? Like propos what? What do you mean?
If my premises follow necessarily, in the sense that they can't be
I heard
wrong.
what you said. I just asking for elaboration.
Hey, so whatever begins to exist has to have a cause, right? You agree to that, right? So everything that begins to exist has to have a cause.
What I
And
asked
I
you was,
prove. Wait,
how
then I
is
prove.
God
Wait,
necessary,
wait,
or like the one
right?
that the cause thing necessary?
What? No, because it's completely illogical for a thing like a
But I don't think how
completely.
it. Okay, I don't see how it's illogical for something to be eternal, but also only like existing some possible worlds and not all of them. And necessary is obviously like existing in every single possible
That's not
world,
what I
like a
said,
number.
Richard. That's not what I said. I said if each of my
No, that
premise
you
follow
said okay, just because
necessarily.
it's logically sound, like it's
No,
logically invalid for it to be.
it's just the contradiction is illogical.
What is illogical?
The
Like God
contradiction of my
being
premise is
unnecessary?
completely illogical. So then the
Nigga, I'm
premise
not
is
talking about the
necessary.
premise. I'm asking you the question. Why is God necessary? And you're just talking about the
Hey,
propositions.
yes, because my propositions like prove God. So for example, right, if all my propositions are true across all possible worlds, then
Across all possible worlds.
right, if all my propositions follow necessarily, then the cost must also follow necessarily.
But there could be a possible world. There could be a possible world with different laws of physics. There could be a possible world with like
That's fine. That still
different
doesn't prove that
universe.
that still doesn't like debunk any of my premises.
No, you said okay. Your whole syllogism would be good or like valid in every single possible world. But I'm just saying there could be a possible world without a universe. So how would it be the case there
Why
to
can
prove that
there
God
be
is
a
like
possible
eternal?
world without a universe?
Uh, because it's not contradictory. Like I don't see a contradiction with that.
Mm, wait, let
But
me.
you're saying so. I'm asking you a question like, how can God be necessary after
Okay,
what
you
you've shown
understand how
me?
there's like
We use the
different
syllogism, which
types
could
of.
also not work.
Richard,
The
You
syllogism does
understand
not
how
work in
there's
every
different.
possible world.
Richard, wait. I could just say
Or-
that since God, I could just argue for like. There's two things I can do right now. I can argue like the non-existence of possible worlds, right? Basically necessitarianism. Or I could also argue like
I mean, go with it with whichever you want.
I could you know how there's like different types of possible worlds, right?
Yeah, there's also a non-sentient possible world, which
No,
God
there's
would
like
not be
different
in.
types of possible worlds. So there's a possible world where we include all logical possibilities, and I could also define possible worlds. Um, wait, let me just get this. Give me like 2 minutes.
Just use the necessitarianism or whatever, or like whatever you're gonna use it.
Wait, this is a lot easier. Just give me like 2 minutes. I'll go get it. It's just I forgot the word for it.
We're gonna figure this out. Man, I got a fat day. I get a peanut.
Okay, here it is.
Damn.
Okay,
Dick.
there's three different types of possible worlds, and when I said that God is necessary, I was talking
Uh-huh.
about the temporal sense of possible worlds. Here's the three definitions of possible worlds.
Well, for God to be necessary, he has to be in all possible worlds.
Yeah, so there's kinds of possibility. You can be temporally possible. So these are just like kinds of possible worlds. So when we mean possible worlds, we can be talking about like the possible worlds that encompasses all logical possibilities. We can be talking about the possible world that encompasses all nomological possibilities. And then we could also be talking about the possible world that encompasses all temporal possibilities. So when I said God was necessary, I was talking about temporal possibility.
Alright, so when I'm asking you, well, something necessary has to exist in all three of those possible worlds, or like those kinds
No,
of possible worlds. Why
no,
not?
not really.
Well, necessary is just something that exists in all possible worlds, and by all possible worlds, I never specified that it's actually like logical, nomological, or temporal. So it's like all three of them combined. or like
Yeah,
he
we
exists in
never
all three of them.
specified, right? That's the problem. And when I was talking about it, right,
Okay, when I said all possible
I
worlds,
was talking about
if I
temporal
didn't
possibility.
if I said all all possible worlds, and I didn't
All
provide a
possible worlds, yeah.
specification, that
But these
means
are
like it's
different
all
kinds of
three of them,
possible worlds.
and
Richard,
the
these are
branches
different
that
kinds
come
of
off
possible worlds.
different kinds of possible. Okay, I'm talking about all kinds and all possible worlds. That's what I'm talking about. I never specified it was like the logical possible world. I never said that.
Now you
I always
just
said
said all possible worlds.
all kinds of possible worlds and all the
No, you
possible
never
worlds
said
within them.
kinds. You just said all possible worlds.
Yeah, so I did not specify one kind of possible world, so it has to be all of them when I said that.
Because I can tell you, I agree to temporal possible world.
Well, you agreed to temporal, but I never specified temporal. I'm saying it's temporal, nomological, and logical in order for it to be necessary.
In order to be for it to be necessary, no, it could be temporally necessary.
It has to be necessary in everything. It has to
Every temporal possible.
necessary is existing in every possible world, including all kinds of possible worlds.
No, it's just
That's the
we can
definition
define
for
possible
okay.
worlds differently. You're just defining. You understand that, like this argument proves that God exists in the real world, which is what matters, right? Possible worlds don't exist; they're just ideas.
Well, I'm obviously talking about. I'm not talking about the syllogism being valid in this actual world. I'm talking about the syllogism being valid in every possible world. And the
Yeah, and
reason,
then
because I want to ask you, okay, so
I can
let me just get this
define
straight.
like
When I ask you,
possibility
like,
as
if God,
temporal
when I
possible
asked you if
worlds.
God is necessary, when I asked you if God is necessary, you said, well, the syllogism said it, like necessarily true in all possible worlds. And I just brought one possible world in which it could not be true. So God is
Yeah,
not
and a
necessary
logical.
according,
Hey, you understand that?
not according.
Hey, you understand that the most the more like close to our own world, the possible world, the better, right? So basically, nomological possibility is above logical possibility, and
Okay, but that
temporal
doesn't mean we should
possibility is
ignore
above
all the other
non-logical
possible
possibility.
worlds.
When we talk about possible worlds, we're just talking about ways the world could have been, right?
Yeah, possible ways for the world to
Yeah,
be.
but we could also be meaning like temporal possible worlds. Like for example, we say like in 2021 there can be a coronavirus pandemic. That's a temporal possibility, right? So
Which
that's what I
falls
was
into
saying
a
with my
possible world.
syllogism.
We could just move on. I think it's going in circles. But anyways, next thing that I have for account before we go to conclusions is
Wait. I'll just prove the necessitarianism.
also using both of them. All right, sure.
Yeah, just in case.
Okay.
Okay, so you know what necessitarianism is?
Yeah, everything happens necessarily.
If everything's determined, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if everything's determined, then everything must happen in every possible world.
So there's no possible worlds you're saying because of
So
that.
there's all possible worlds are the same.
Oh, so how is it like worlds or
If
like
everything's
possibilities or whatever?
determined, right? Everything's
Okay,
determined.
how are they all the same but then called possible worlds?
That's the thing. In necessitarianism, there's no possible worlds. Everything's just necessary.
How does everything happen necessarily?
Because everything's determined.
Yeah, yeah. How's everything determined?
Right? So, for example, like every action we make. Wait, sorry, my like charger just disconnected.
Even arbitrary decisions?
What do you mean by arbitrary?
Like if I'm gonna like suck a dick tomorrow, or if I'm gonna eat food, like
Yeah, it's determined by like your psychology.
well, what if it's like what's it called? Intrinsic like what if I just like don't have experience, don't have external philosophical what I said external psychological effects on me, so I'm just like a fresh mind Like, what would happen then?
Like you'll be affected by your surroundings.
Well, yeah. So I'm saying like
You
I'm
will
just born
determine your
in
decision
the middle of
according to your
nowhere. I
surroundings.
had no outside. Okay, I had no external psychological interference, and I
How is
just
that even possible?
grow up with no experience at all. So
Why? How can you?
my
So
decisions
when
would
you
not be
grow up,
determined on anything. It's
Richard,
just
when you grow
arbitrary.
up, you're it's already determined by like something that costs you to do something, right? For example, I get hungry, therefore I go to eat, right? And we can do this like in
Okay, I'm
like
obviously I'm talking, bro. I'm talking about the fucking um when you have no outside external like psychological interference,
can
and
you
when you have no
prove there's
experience
such a
and
thing in
nothing
the
at all.
world? Can
Okay,
you prove there's
it's a
such a thing in the world?
hypothetical. It's a hypothetical.
It's not. There's no
That could.
hypotheticals in necessitarianism.
Why is there no? Okay, why is there no hypothetical? I could just
You understand
take something.
hypotheticals happen in possible worlds, right?
Okay, so I cannot
There's
use
no possible
hypothetical.
worlds in
Okay,
necessitarianism.
it's possible for the hypothetical that I'm using to be somewhere in this world.
Why?
I
Can you
cannot
prove that? Can
prove
you
it, but
prove
it's
that is
possible for it to
possible? Why
happen
is it possible?
because it doesn't entail any
No,
contradiction. What the
because as
fuck?
soon as you're born, you're already influenced by your outside surroundings.
By what? What am I influenced by? I'm 1 hour
Meaning your
old.
mom, what
What
you're
could I be?
seeing, what your eyesight is seeing.
What if I'm born into the woods and I just get fucking thrown into the woods and just grow up there?
That's still you're influenced by your surroundings. That you grew up in the woods.
Like what? Like what surroundings?
The woods.
Okay. What if I in a dark room I only get fed and drink water like once a day
That's still not
or like
random.
twice.
You're still thinking something. You still get hungry and eat. It's still
Okay,
determined.
but it's not okay. Yeah, it's
There's no
arbitrary.
undetermined
I'm not saying
action
no,
in the
no, 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 no.
world.
I'm saying like there's no outside interference from every everything that surrounds us because I'm just in a dark room. Nothing. I haven't seen sunlight before. Anything like that.
You're gonna
I'm
be
just
influenced
fed
by the fact
food
that in
and
the dark, that's gonna that's gonna cause your actions.
okay. What if I just decide to eat something else? It's not determined by the darkness. Like that. There is not a
It's
psychological
determined by your
interference.
psychology because you got hungry or whatever, or you felt like
Okay.
doing it.
Well, it's not. It's not. Well, I didn't get hungry. I just felt like it. It's an arbitrary decision. That's what it is. There's no outside psychological
That's
interference
still your
in this
brain. That's
scenario.
still your brain determining that you
Yeah,
should
my
do.
brain does it. That doesn't mean is determined. Like
It
just
is
because
determined. Your
I
brain
do an
is based
arbitrary
on like
decision because of my
genes. Your
brain
brain is based on
doesn't
like genes.
mean
So
it's determined.
the way your brain is already
Man,
determined by who your
bro.
parents are, right? Everything's determined, Richard. Like everything's determined by one other action.
Don't call him a retard.
I said
Yeah,
Richard. Sorry.
he said Richard.
The
But
hell
yeah,
he
so look,
didn't.
shut up, bitch, bro. So you wanna move out from this?
I mean, I think we should just go to conclusions. Like, what else do
I'll
you
just
have?
make a last point. There could be a. So just this necessitarianism thing, we just leave it to the judge. So no one got this point until the judge tells us. So how about there's a possible world where non-sentient thing doesn't exist?
I already explained how there's no possible worlds.
Okay, obviously I said we're not gonna take necessitarianism into account because we don't know who won the point. So we're just gonna have to continue and still man that.
So you're saying there's a possible world of nothing? Is that what you're saying?
No, well, yeah, that's what I said. But let's just go to conclusions. I made
There's,
that point. You're just gonna say necessitarianism. So if you lost that point, you just lost the debate. But yeah, we'll see if you lost or won based on the judge.
so you want to conclude?
You can go first. I'm just
Okay, basically, Richard accepted all my premises. The only one he had problem with was like premise 2, which was the one that the universe began to exist. And his problem was that like causality was temporal, which he gave no justification for. And I provided like countless examples as to why causality isn't necessarily temporal. Then he started arguing some weird stuff about like advancement, and I had to like explain like how the causal order is different from like the temporal order. He had little to like no refutation at this point. then he just continued to like accept all my premises, which would prove that God exists in the real world, right? And then he tried saying like prove that it's necessary that God exists, right? I don't know why. And basically I said it's because like all my premise follow necessarily, right? And then he said like, oh, but there's a possible world where there's no universe, right? But then I explained how like there's different kinds of possibility and possible worlds, and how one is greater than the other, right? So if I prove temporal possibility of God, then that should just prove like the whole point of modal logic is to prove like things exist and how they would exist. So that's why temporal possibility is the best one because it's the most similar to like our actual world. And then I went on to like argue necessitarianism, and I proved like everything's like determined by something. And he just tried to like make up like this hypotheticals, and I like refuted all of them. So I don't think he really argued anything against necessitarianism.
All right, my conclusion is first point. Causal relations don't happen without progress, and progress happens like prior to time, or like like in addition to time, and it's corresponding. So therefore, like causal relations cannot be atemporal. Second, necessitarianism thing, whatever he argued, I think I countered that by saying, there's possible worlds. He actually tried to say that there's like three kinds of possible worlds. So when I asked him to prove God's necessity, it has to be in all possible worlds, which he used two arguments. It was like necessitarianism, and it was the other one. The other one didn't really work because I said all of them. He just put them into branches. Like, oh, it could be temporal, it could be logical, which it doesn't really matter. It has to be all of them. The second one, necessitarianism, he tried to say there's no possible world. I think I just disproved that because even though they start the same, things could happen differently. Because I argued against determinism and like why it happens, and I think I won that point. With like, in addition to that point, I just think I won the debate because of that.
Bean man, can you judge?
Man.